In this video, I'm going to look at CADJPY to determine um, what is what the levels are that I should be looking at to take potential trades. So in this chart here, I'm looking at 1 hour bars, and I'm looking at 1 hour bars against two things. One, last week's range, just the last week's high and last week's low. So this shaded area here, that's last week's high, and then the bottom of the shaded area is last week's low. With that in mind, I now have over here in the pink last week's volume profile. And again, you can see the high and low of last week aligned with the shaded area, of course. So within that, what I want to look at is what are the potential areas that when price gets there, if that level holds, then I can expect it to come back to the high volume areas. So the first thing I need to identify is last week's high volume area. And last week's high volume area is right here at this purple line, which is about 92.08. Then the next high point that I want to look at is where prices, where would be the next high volume area. So we have one right there. I'm going to change this to purple as well, or pink. So there's one right there at right around where price is right now, and that's telling me is that price is comfortable at this level because a lot of volume has been built up there. What it's not telling me is this is a good level to trade. This was a good level to exit trades, because I don't know right now if the price will continue and go higher up outside of last week's high and then into this profile that's being built here for this week, or will this level hold and come back down to the VPOC. Now if it gets up to around this area here of yesterday's high, then I'd potentially look to take a trade here, just above this high volume area here, and then stops would be above this this low volume area here. Ideally, if I have more patience and I can wait, then look to take short trades at 92.58, because if this level doesn't hold and it gets into this new area up here, then it'll run higher, because if it gets up here and gets accepted, not rejected, then what it will do, it will look to run up to the next high volume point. And I would look to the monthly chart for that next high volume point. So I have a point here at 92.58. Put a line down at 92.58. That's the 92.58 here. That's that low volume point from this weekly volume profile, the current week's volume profile. Now when I put that against this, which is the monthly, and today's December 1st, so everything in the orange is just the new month, which is just hours old volume profile, but this pink profile is last month, all of November's volume profile. So when I now take that 92.58, which was the weekly low volume point, I actually see that there's a, based on last month's profile, there is a bigger volume cluster around 92.68. Um, so I would, if I was in a long trade, I would look to have 92.68 as my target. And then if I was looking for a short trade, I'd look to get something in between these 2 points, 92.83, 92.68. I'd look to execute a trade in this range, hoping for it to come back down and stay within this big volume cluster. If it gets above 92.83, then it'll likely look to run above this high and maybe run some stops. But over here, based on last month's volume profile, this is a low volume area. So that's another good area for taking short trades. If I was going to take a short trade around 92.83, I might want to have a quicker stop than to see it run up to 93.09, because at that point I wouldn't want to be selling there, selling my buy trade there. So I wouldn't want to be buying there to close out my sell trade. I would want to be selling there to execute a trade. Now, coming back to the current week, in order for this thing to run up even higher, it needs to break above this high volume node here. And if it breaks above this high volume node, then um, then this will then become a support. But right now, it looks like, see, it's trading to it, not through it. If it trades through it, then this high volume will become support. The thing is, it's 9:50 a.m. right now, and I don't see a trade, and that's what I need to really tell myself, is that there is no trade right now. I need to sit and wait for price to get to a more favorable level for me. And a favorable level, I think, would be to get outside and above of last week's volume profile. If I get outside and above last week's volume profile, then potentially there might be a trade there for me. Now, one other thing too that I've been looking at is the last 2 weeks volume profile. So everything in the orange, this volume profile is the current week's volume profile, but in the pink is the previous 2 weeks volume profile. And again, within that, we can see that this 2 week volume profile, the VPOC is at 92.07. And on Monday, we went through to it and through it. Then we came back down to it. We had a bounce off of it. Then we came back down to it. We built up more volume there. Price is comfortable in this area. Buyers and sellers are comfortable at executing trades there. And then it moves above it, up to this low part of this high volume area, up to the low part of this rectangle. And it couldn't get accepted into this high volume area, and because it couldn't do that, it came right back down. And where did it come down to? To the 2 week high volume area, which is also aligning itself with the developing weeks volume profile. So as we are right now, on this chart, it's still confirming to me I don't have a trade. If I take a trade to the upside and I buy and it wins is by luck. It's a 50-50 flip because it could easily run down to the bottom side of this low volume area. So what I want to see is I want to see come further down into this low volume area here and then look to take buy trades and target back up to the VPOC. I want to see come into this yellow box, and if it can't get accepted inside of it, then I want to take a short trade. If it gets accepted inside of it, then look for it to run up to the high of this high volume area. So as of right now, 9:50 a.m. Eastern, there is no trade for me to take on CADJPY. And I'm going to leave it at that.